Alright, welcome to this showcase video of a ranged pierce oriented character. It is using a two-handed weapon, so a rifle, and it is using the Valdun set. So if you want to make a ranged pierce character, maybe a tactician, stick around and I'll show you more about this build. In the meantime, in the background, you are going to see me killing a couple of bosses. This build, again, I didn't have any issues with it on hardcore, killing pretty much everything in the game. I did not delve into the Crucible because I don't particularly like Crucible, but other than that, it didn't have any issues with anything. I did build it a bit more defensively than you could if you would be playing on softcore, so there is some more damage you could squeeze out, but I didn't need it. I think the DPS right now is where I want it to be. It's over 100k sheet DPS, so it's good. So if you want to know about the items, let's just look up what I wear. As I mentioned, I'm a tactician. It's a Valdun character, which means it's using the 4 pieces of the Valdun set. I would say the most important pieces are the rifle and the amulet, since the rifle gives you one of the best skills in the game. It feels the best, at least. 8 projectiles, 90% damage per projectile, so you do a load of damage if you shoot something point blank. And the amulet gives you the 25% chance for a AoE burst when you hit the target, which is really good since we are going to be using cadence, which is very single target oriented. So having something to help clear AoE is really important. The helmet and the armor as well, really good, so you want to finish the set eventually. The only other pieces I would say are mandatory would be the Blade Twister segment, which is the minus resistance that we get, and we use the Blade Breaker Sash, which is a nice boost of damage all around and a lot of offensive ability. So this is probably a must-have as well. You can also use the Bilgothian Sigil. It is great for DPS. It has attack speed, which Cadence thrives off. Uh, Flat damage as well, something that's really great for this build. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else should be used to fill out your resistances and maybe get some more damage. I'm using Barbaros with Unchained Might and Boonguard Greaves, and I'm using green shoulder guards, just something to fix my resistances and health. And I'm also using the mythical Mark of Divinity. I'm playing this in hardcore, so I would like to have a little bit of a safety net. I honestly don't need this. I could go for something offensive, since I don't remember when was the last time I really dipped that low on HP, below 30%, since I do have 16k HP. So yeah, I don't really need the Mark of Divinity, but hey, better safe than sorry. Also, I'm using Vengeance. Again, you could go for anything. I like the +1 to Inquisitor with the defensive ability, because that brings me up to 2.5k DA, which is fairly comfortable. Offensive ability. This build has a lot of offensive ability, so if we stand in this, and yeah, there we go, 3.1k. It's not super massive offensive ability, but it does get you up to 100k and fairly decent crit rate. When it comes to skills and devotions, again, fairly simple. Um, Maybe I should go over devotions first, since it's something you can customize a lot. The important parts would be the Kraken, since we're using a two-handed weapon. I would also pick up this Assassin's Blade. That is a must-have as well, because of the minus pierce resistance. And that would be more or less it. On hardcore, I would also pick up Targo if possible, because I love Shield Wall, but I might be a little biased. Everything else is whatever you feel like. I went for Chariot of the Dead for offensive ability and a little bit of a heal, and I went for Unknown Soldier for some pierce damage and the Shadows. Now, the Shadows don't really do much. They're just there for distraction, honestly. They don't do that much damage, but it's still nice to have them around. Everything else is just filling out some extra resistances, some extra offensive ability, and just getting the required affinity for the higher tier devotions. Skill wise, as well, fairly simple. In the soldier tree, we pick up the bare necessity, which is cadence. We also pick up war cry for the reduced target damage, which it's really useful when you're fighting hard hitting enemies. Then we max out fighting spirit, or at least get it to 12 out of 12. We don't need to overcap it. Markovian's advantage, I just use 1 point in here because it's worth it. Then we get the military conditioning and 8 out of 8 scars of battle. We get 12 out of 12 field command, and we keep squad tactics as a dump. At least that's where I dump my points into, since I like the all damage and the attack speed really helps a little with cadence. Besides that, 1 point in decorated soldier, it's not that necessary. Just a few resistances and slow resistance, no big deal. When it comes to Inquisitor though, same deal, very simple devotion, very simple skill setup. We go for Aura of Conviction because we get massive pierce damage, flat pierce damage that is. We do get quite some pierce percentage, and we also get offensive ability and physical resistance. The other alternative would be Olrin's Rage, but Olrin's Rage is more physical oriented since it gives you internal trauma damage and physical damage. It still increases your pierce damage a little bit, and it still increases your offensive ability, but the movement speed is also wasted. So I prefer to use the Inquisitor skill, the Aura of Conviction, and that's why I went with this one. For range expertise, we put in as many points as possible, since it gives us flat pierce damage, percent pierce damage, and attack speed. Very important. We put 1 point in every skill in the Word of Renewal tree, 1 point in Word of Arms, because why the hell not? And the rest is just maxing out Deadly Name and putting some points in Inquisitor Seal. I went very offensive with it with Arcane Empowerment, because again, flat pierce damage, percent all damage, which increases pierce, and crit damage, which is great for us. I don't like to rely on the seal that much on this build, since it is a range build, so you are going to be kiting enemies. Even if you can face tank enemies, don't. It's bad habits. Eventually, something will kill you if you face tank it. It could be just like a coincidence, like 3 monsters swing at the same time and all of them hit you and one of them crits and you just evaporate because of that. But it can happen. If you're playing a range build, take advantage of the range. So I'm using the seal in that fashion as well. I try to kite, I place the seal where I'm gonna walk to, then step into it, shoot at the enemy a little bit. If he gets too close, I move away again. It's just a safety thing, and I like to play range characters as if they were actually range and not glorified melee. But yeah, that's it for the skill setup or the devotion setup. Um, I am going to post my Grim Tools link in the description. Again, it's very flexible outside of the few items that I mentioned. Also, a few tips that I would have for playing this build is, like always, get yourself some courageous tinctures. They're really useful. One of the oils that I started using is the Ether Ward oil, which you can get from the barrel. No, what was it? From the Malmoth Resistance, yeah, from these guys. It's very good against ethereal enemies. So use that. And what else is there? Yeah, another tip I would have for players starting a range character that they have never played before. Bind yourself a force move button. You can use the move to command, but you could also use a move only button. So when you go in the options and when you go into the key bindings, if we check, now what was it? Oh, there it is. Force move. That gets really helpful when you have to escape through mobs or just want to move somewhere without attacking everything. Since I am using my attack on left click, it could happen that when I wanted to move somewhere, I start shooting instead of moving. So having a force move button gets really, really helpful in these situations. But yeah, as always, that's it. I hope you liked the little showcase of the build. If you like the build, you can copy it. For leveling, it's gonna be a bit slower since you won't have AoE until you hit Valdun set, but it's worth it. It's really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It's safe, it's tanky, and it deals a lot of damage. So yeah, hope you enjoy it, and see you next time.